Pickups. When you think about them, the words that come to mind are rugged looking with boxy proportions. You don't usually think sleek looking with flowing lines. So this new pickup that we have here is quite an anomaly.
This beside me is a hybrid of sorts. It has the rugged proportions and the chassis of a pickup, but it has the face of a classy, high-end crossover. This is the Mazda BT50. We'll take it off-road, on-road, and we'll come up with 5 reasons why we think you should buy one. So is it worth your money? Let's find out. I'm old enough to remember a time when Mazda was considered a cheaper alternative to Toyotas and Mitsubishis. Those days are long gone because Mazda has now positioned itself as a premium Japanese brand. A step higher than Toyotas and a step lower than premium Euro. It started back in the early 2010s. Mazda introduced a new design philosophy called Kodo design, which translates to soul of motion. And I think it's one of the most consistently beautiful design languages in the car industry. So this generation of the BT50 is the first to be given the Kodo design treatment. And I think it works in a strange kind of way. I think if you're not used to seeing this design language in a pickup, it takes a while for your eyes to adapt to it. But once you get used to it, I think it's a pretty eye-catching looking pickup. So the BT50 is the only truck-based vehicle in Mazda's lineup. It used to be based on the Ford Ranger back when Mazda and Ford were still buddies.
Just a very brief history lesson. Ford and Mazda had a 41-year partnership that started in 1974 and ended in 2015. And during that time, a lot of rebadging happened between the two brands. The Mazda Tribute / Ford Escape, the Mazda 323 / Ford Lynx, and of course the Ford Ranger / BT50. Since Ford has sold its stake in Mazda, Mazda was free to find another company to partner up with for the BT50. And they chose a brand that is well known for making dependable diesels: Isuzu. The Mazda BT50 is basically an Isuzu Dmax under the skin, and it's even built in the same plant in Thailand.
So obviously the first thing that you notice here is the front. This design definitely stands out compared to its peers. From the front, it looks like a CX-9, and Mazda didn't make any compromises to make it look more pickup-like. It looks like they Control-C'd the face of the CX-9 and Control-V'd it on the BT50. So we've done a walk around of the BT50 before, but let's take a quick refresher. The headlights are LEDs, but unlike the 4x4 model, the 4x2 model doesn't get the circular halos. This gets halogen fog lamps. I think the front looks sophisticated, but I also think that it looks quite aggressive. Like from this angle, it looks like it's about to pounce on you. You have multiple color choices for the BT50. This color right here is not Soul Crystal Red. Unfortunately, that's not available for the BT50. This is called Volcanic Red, and while it may not have the depth of Soul Crystal Red, I think it also looks pretty good. It's also available in these other colors right here. In it. The BT50 comes with 18-inch wheels wrapped in 255 series Bridgestone dual-air tires. I like the wheel design better than the wheels of the Dmax. And I like how the center caps cover all the lug nuts. It gets drum brakes at the back and disc brakes at the front. The BT50 gets halogen tail lamps. Like the Dmax, it also gets a body-colored bumper. If I had to nitpick, I think this would be my least favorite part of the design. On the Dmax, the rear bumper is integrated into the body. This one sticks out like a sore thumb. Like the Dmax, the BT50 also doesn't have an assisted liftgate. So this is quite heavy. The 4x2 variant gets a bed liner as standard, and the load capacity is the same as the D-Max. If there's one brand that's known for making dependable diesels, that's Isuzu. The Mazda BT50 gets the exact same engine as the Isuzu Dmax. This is the 4JJ3 engine. It's a 3-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that produces 190 horsepower and 450 Newton meters of torque. It's coupled to a 6-speed automatic transmission.
The interior is okay looking, although don't expect the same level of refinement as Mazda's crossovers and sedans. This, after all, is supposed to be a utilitarian vehicle. You got a lot more hard plastics on the 4x2 model, most notable of which are the center armrest and the steering wheel. I really wish that it came with a leather-wrapped steering wheel. I'd be okay with that even if the rest of the interior was made of hard plastic. The 4x2 model gets fabric seats, which are relatively comfortable. They provide good shoulder support and they have decent bolstering. The 4x4 model gets a much nicer two-tone interior with leather and more soft touch materials. Compared to the interior of the Dmax LS-A 4x2, which is Isuzu's mid-range model, they have a lot of similarities. The interior of the BT50 4x2 has more soft touch materials. The top of the dashboard is leather wrapped on the BT50. This is also leather wrapped right here. And you also get these leather wrapped leg rests, which you don't get on the Dmax. You get a decent amount of piano black accents, and I know a lot of reviewers don't like them because they're scratch magnets, but I think they give the interior of the BT50 a more premium look. You also get these metallic looking surfaces over here, which you don't get on the Dmax. Yeah, in terms of storage, like the Dmax, you also get dual glove boxes. The top one is dampened, the bottom one isn't. The BT50 doesn't get the top compartment that you get on the Dmax. You get decent storage underneath the armrest. And you have room here for at least one water bottle. The BT50 also deleted the cup holders next to the air vents. Instead, you only get these two cup holders over here, which are a bit too deep for smaller cups. If you put a small cup of coffee here, the lid will come off because it is too deep. The Dmax LS-A has a much bigger 10-inch screen. The BT50 only gets a 7-inch screen. But like the Dmax, this also gets Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and a reverse camera. Aside from the larger infotainment screen of the Dmax LS-A 4x2, they're basically the same in terms of features. Like the Dmax, the BT50 also doesn't get a push start button. You have to physically put the key in the ignition. They both have standard cruise control, hill descent control, hill start assist, dual airbags, rear parking sensors, and single zone climate control. They also have the same instrument cluster, by the way. On the outside, the BT50 benefits from having LED projector headlamps, which aside from being brighter, also look a lot better than the halogens of the Dmax. Here at the back seat, legroom is quite generous. I have about 6 inches of legroom, and the front seat is adjusted to my height. I have about 3.5 to 4 inches of headroom. So over here you get 2 air vents. You get one USB port and some storage over here. There is no center armrest though. The BT50 has the exact same suspension, the same engine as the Dmax. So it is no surprise that they drive very similarly. The engine is quite audible, the same as the Dmax. You hear it quite a bit when you're driving, especially on the highway. In terms of power though, I have absolutely no complaints. There's plenty of power on tap. You just lightly step on the gas pedal and you get immediate response. So overtaking is easy and it's also quite a bit of fun.
steering is hydraulic. It tends to be quite heavy at parking lot speeds, but once you're moving it gets pretty light. In terms of ride quality, it rides like a pickup, like the Dmax. It does tend to get a bit bouncy, especially when you're not loaded at the back. It's not so bad though. The ride is a lot better than the Hilux. Yeah, so you do hear the engine quite a bit, but I think the vehicle does a good job of insulating you from outside noise.
In terms of fuel economy, I got an average of 9.5 kpl in the city with an average speed of 22 kph. On the highway, I got about 14 kpl, but I didn't drive it like a granny. I did a couple of acceleration runs and a bit of overtaking. But I was able to get as high as 15.7 kpl on the Dmax, so I think it would be possible to achieve that number or even better on the BT50 if you drive it more conservatively.
Continue on Asian Highway 26 for 6 kilometers.
That felt pretty quick. I did a 0 to 100 on the MUX, and I was able to do it in 9 point something seconds. This felt a bit faster.
One of the appeals of buying a pickup truck is that it is more versatile when it comes to different types of terrain. Being a 4x2 vehicle, this is not really ideal for hardcore off-roading, but for provincial roads or unpaved paths like this, it is more than capable. Its ground clearance of 240mm is more than enough to make sure that you don't scrape your under chassis. Its approach angle of 30.4 degrees means that you can tackle inclines or descents without worrying about destroying your bumper. And its wading depth of 800mm means that you can tackle puddles of water or maybe even shallow rivers without worrying that you will hydrolock your engine. Okay, so now that we've done our full review, it's time for our next segment, 5 reasons why you should buy the Mazda BT50. Number 1, the brand. Some brands try to cater to as wide a market as possible, so sometimes quality gets sacrificed at the lower end of the spectrum. Mazda doesn't try to appeal to as wide of a market, so they can maintain a minimum level of quality in their vehicles. In other words, it's not as massive. And I think that makes Mazda a notch more desirable than some other mainstream Japanese brands. Number 2, the looks. Now, looks are subjective. You may or may not like how it looks, but there's no denying that it's a very unique looking pickup. Ideal for those who want to stand out. Number 3, the extra accessories. The first 200 to buy the BT50 will get extra accessories, which include fender moldings, a front scuff plate, and the most useful of which is the bed cover. The total cost of these accessories is 80,000 pesos, but you'll get them for free if you're among the first 200 to buy the BT50. Number 4, it's based on the Isuzu Dmax. Isuzu is a brand that's known for making dependable diesels. But then again, you may ask, if you want an Isuzu, why not just buy a Dmax? Which brings us to our 5th and I think most important reason. Number 5, Mazda's 5-year free PMS plan. You won't have to spend a single peso on your maintenance for the next 5 years. If you add that all up, that is a lot of savings.
The Suit is also a beaut. Seriously though, with the diesel dependability of an Isuzu, the classy looks of a Mazda, and 5 years of free PMS, I think this is a pretty good deal.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.